What's up guys, welcome back to another GGF video, and today I'll be doing a follow-up video to the recent review I did on the TRYX Luca L70. So I'm sure you've all seen the GN video review on that case, and I've received a few emails about the legitimacy of my review. Was my quality of the case as bad as the one he received? Did I have the similar issues like that? So I just want to cover some of those areas. I've even been sent a third chassis. So this one I've got down here, which I haven't opened yet, is an MP unit. So that's the mass production. These two here I received for the review were all PR. So apparently TRYX said that all the people, the 3 reviewers, including myself, that received the cases were all PR, which was press release. And then I've been sent the final mass production unit down below. So I reached out to Steve before I did this video and say, hey, I want to do a follow-up video to my review. I just want to reach out to my fans and show them the cases I got, sort of back up some of my reasoning in my review, things like any SATA issues, some other things as well. I just wanted to make sure that Steve was okay, that I could use any of his footage, anything like that. He said that was fine. We had a bit of a chat. I'm not out here to prove him wrong. We all know Steve does awesome work. He does so much for the community. So we saw his case, we saw his review. It was not in a very usable condition. It's basically like that case had come out of a dumpster, and I'm sure TRYX are trying to wonder where that case came from. So what I want to do is go over the case, unbox this one live for you, and then we can go from there. So first off, I want to cover the NDA dates. There was a bit of confusion around that. I've reached out to TRYX and tried to work out why I could launch my video a week before the one that the GN did. So basically, because I was featuring their all-in-one cooler, that was launching on the date that my case launched. That's when I said I could, that's when they said I could release my case review. And then the actual case review was launching the week later. And that was just the case only. So because I had the all-in-one cooler, if I had known that out of my 32-minute or something video review, the all-in-one cooler was featured for like 2-3 minutes, I probably would have said, hey, there's no point. I'm basically doing a case review, but I didn't know any of that. All I was told at the time was, hey, this is when we want you to launch your case review video. That's it. So when I get told NDA dates, I don't get told who else has the case, who's going to be releasing it then, and so on. But I can kind of see where Steve was coming from. If I was in a separate, or wouldn't say separate category, but if I was told one date and then I see people releasing it early, I would be a little bit annoyed. But in saying that, I think TRYX still need to make it a little bit clearer that, hey, if you're going to be featuring one product, you probably shouldn't be showcasing the other product, or it should wait till when the case is launching and everyone can launch it at the same time. So it was a little bit weird to have that staggered launch. Now, one thing I want to talk about is when I was reviewing this case, throughout this case review, I was contacting my TRYX contact, going back and forth about, hey, because these were PR samples, press release, so you can expect things aren't going to be perfect. So with a PR sample, that's normally when a small batch of units are run. They are sent to the reviewers. Now, this can be good and bad. The good thing is we can get the item early. We can check it out before the MP models, which is the mass production units, are then run and then sent out to all the stores like Newegg and so on. So the good thing is I can get it early, check it all out. Things like missing screws and all of that I can test. And then the negative thing, I guess, is that the cases can be cherry picked. Now, obviously for me, both of mine were perfect. I had no issues with them. So there's no reason why they should cherry pick a case for me. I'm basically a nobody. If you're going to do one, you would definitely send it to Steve if you're going to cherry pick one. But obviously we all know that was not the case because we all saw the quality of his. So I've got the MP one down here, which we'll look at soon. And these are the 2 PR ones. But if I received a case like that, this is just how I would have done it. I would have mentioned it in my video to say, look, there's quality issues with this chassis, but then I would have requested a second one and I would have based the review on that one, because I do think it was a little bit unfair to fully review a case that was heavily damaged, whether or not some of it was done in shipping, whether or not it was one that came back from Computex or something. Things like the fitting of the PSUs in was tight on their model. I've had no issues with that. Obviously, the door was falling off the front. I had no issues with that, which I'll go through a little bit later on. So yeah, that's just how I would have done it. I would have asked for a brand new model, tested that one in the review, and then mentioned that the previous one had a lot of quality issues. So I have been told this one is completely unopened. There's no way I can verify that. Like it still has the tape seal on here, but the way this box is done is it lifts up from the top like a TV box. You undo these 4 plastic clips like so, if I can reach around. And who knows, this one could come damaged. I have no idea. Now, if I spin this around and inspect the box, there is a gouge out of here, if you can see that. So there's definitely a gouge there that I say would have been done in transport. Most of the time when I receive a case box, no matter who it's from, there's always some sort of marking on it somewhere. Now let's just slide this off. It will fit. Right, so one thing I do want to cover are the screws. I was told there were going to be hard drive screws in here, and there are not hard drive screws in there. So that's definitely something they can see. This is, I'm just trying to see which side is. Now I just want to do this all in one go, so it's not like I've cut anything or trying to work out which is, there's the handle. So what I'm going to do is try and swing this off, and then the video cuts, even though I've dropped something. All right, there we go. Okay, it's a bit dirty on the bottom. It's messed up that. That's all good. All right, so we have tape on the side. Take that off. Let's take all this plastic off. Yeah, I don't know what's on the other side. Let me take. That's not too bad. I've actually got a force gauge that I've been testing these side panels. It's literally a device that you can use to test the push and pull force on these tempered glass side panels. Now, let me know if that's something you want me to add into my reviews. I'm not sure if it's going to be beneficial, but I've been testing this with the Lamborghini Lambo edition case. So basically, it's like this little unit here, if you can see that. So you turn it on. One press. I'm actually just going to move this one on the ground for now, because I've got some prior readings we can show. So yeah, basically this, I'm actually going to take this off because it's going to be hard to. All right, so straight away, the side panel is fine. So I'd say the problem with GN's one that he got, I think some of it would have been done in shipping. Obviously, these plastic clips that hold the side panels in, nearly every case brand uses them that has this type of design. If it doesn't slide like that way to come off, if it pushes on, they have these clips. I fed back to TRYX that they could put some in the storage box, like wherever that went to here. Put them in the storage box, give you like 2 or 3 spare. I'm pretty sure Leanne Lee do that. Leanne Lee's just clip in. These ones are screwed in. So as soon as one of those breaks, you're going to lose half of the pushing force. If both of them break, you're going to lose both. Now, one thing I noticed in the GN video, when his side panel kept falling, it just fell straight down. Now I can literally, I'm not clipping this in, by the way, I'm just letting it fall. This one stays. Now some brands do this as a fail safe, that if you do unclip it like this and it falls out of your hand, it does stay. And I can actually really push that down and it is not falling, because that's how it's meant to be done. All right, so now I've got this little gauge here. I can set it to unit to kilograms. I'll convert it to pounds for those who want it. I can set it to peak. So what I can do is push this on the glass roughly in the center and then push it. So there was 2.15 kg. I can reset that again, close that, give it a push like that, and then 2.41 again. So when I was doing it on the top, there's that little bit I can pull it. It was roughly the same. The reason why I'm doing it to pull and push is because when I compared it on the Lianli Lamborghini case is they have the tab at the back to push it, and I think that's a little bit unfair on using the same location, because if you use the center here and you try to use this point here, you're not doing it from the same point. So my black model push, my black model is actually quite tight on the glass side panel. The pushing it out was 3.5 kilograms of force and the pulling was 2.5. The PR white model, which was this one, the push was 2 kilograms and the pull was 1.8. And then the L11 Lambo push was 2.5 kg. So they're really all around, I would say, the 2 kilograms, except for my black model down there, the push PR model was 3.5 kilograms. So obviously, yeah, coming out of the factory, I would say these are fine, but if those clips break, you are going to have issues. I did speak to another fellow modder in the modding community about all of the gouges on the GN base. Now, those were done post manufacturing process. I just wanted to reach out to say, hey, these marks, can they be done by a machine? And he pointed something out because of the discoloration in those marks and chips, because they were a different color, it happened after anodization. So it definitely looked like that was done, I would say, not by shipping, because if you had it in a box and you drop the case, you're not going to be able to get like a divot out of here, inside here, a divot out of here. This whole power button on the chassis was destroyed. There's areas over here. The rad brackets were all mangled. Like, it was just insane the amount of damage that was on it. The power button on this one, it's going to be hard to show you. I actually spoke to the guys at TRYX. They actually had it a little bit looser than originally. They made it a bit tighter so there was no accidental presses, because if you take this off, you can't actually knock it from the side like this. It has to be pushed closer in the middle. So that's why they didn't do it so you can push it from the side, like right on the edge. You have to push it from more in the middle where the light is. I'm going to take this off so we don't get any reflections. Covered panel strength. I just want to go through if there's any other marks on this chassis. I'll get some close-ups on this as well. I haven't done any B-roll on this because I left it in the box as well, but this one looks pristine so far. Nothing seems... I want to do something else as well. We also noticed on the GN model that this was really flimsy or damaged. Let me turn off that push thing. So I've got... It's going to be hard to measure this. Like, yeah, I could use this tool and just push down and show you how much force. This one here's got a, can't even remember, 360 rad, which is, no, that actually doesn't have a rad. That's just got 2 fans, so that's not going to do anything with those up there. So here I've got probably the heaviest PSU I have. It's a Seasonic 1600 watt. It's 3 kilograms. I can put this right on the edge and we can see how much that drops it down. So obviously the one in the GN video was just absolutely, I would say there was some massive structural integrity sort of damage in that chassis because it was all wobbly all over the place. Let me take the back side panel off because that could normally add some strength as well. One thing I can see is it's going to be real hard. So where you see this little guide that slides into the hole in the back to line it up, there's a little bit of a dimple where it's come through. Hasn't come through, but it's just slightly raised. So there definitely is that little imperfection. Right, so let's put this on. So we can see how much that drops down. It's not by much. And even on this one that already has this on, if I put this like this, then when you put this back on, actually it fails that. When I put this back on, it then just clips in like that. So it doesn't drop down. It's kind of a bit of a ghetto measurement I'm doing, but rather than me just pushing it with my hand, I could be not pushing down hard. I could be pushing down too hard. Like I'm really putting some force. Like, yes, I could probably break it if I put all my force on because, yeah, it's just suspended by nothing, but definitely it's not bad. And I've had cases I've reviewed that have definitely been worse than that. And even if you do put a radiator at the full length, you're not going to be putting all the force on the edge. Like I'm putting that right on the edge. It's going to be distributed along the whole top. Moving down, so the bottom rad bracket. Now this thing I completely missed. It was an oversight. Now I do apologize with that. So you may have noticed in the GN video, there is a removable rad bracket like this. And now you've got your 1, 2, 3. So I can do the 120 fans, 140 fans, the 360 rad. But now you've also got rad and fan slots on the actual case. So you have them twice. Now, the reason for that is when you put your PSU down the bottom of the case, so for those who for some reason haven't seen this case or any of the video footage, you can move the PSU from here down to here. So when it's up here, you have the freedom and the luxury of installing your fans and rad outside. You can put it on this nice bracket. You don't have to turn the case upside down and get underneath. You can put it in like this. But if you were to put the PSU down the bottom, you need to take this bracket out. For clearances, you move this down here, put the motherboard tray up. Once you put your PSU down here, they need to have some secondary options for mounting fans because you can fit, I think they said 2, you can actually only fit 1 120 or 1 140 because it does fail on this bit here. You can put 2 up the top like I've done, but you can only put 1 in that build, 2 up the top. You can only put 1 down the bottom in front of the PSU. But if they didn't have any of these cutouts here, you wouldn't be able to mount any fans or something like that. And I know some people do like to put some fans. Well, a lot of people like to put fans down the bottom, but if you put your PSU down here, you've blocked off most of your options. You can only put 1 fan down there. So they've just done that. So when you remove the bracket and you put your PSU there, you're not left with nothing you can use, or they could have given you a smaller bracket for just 1 fan, but that would have been weird. But in saying that, what Steve was saying is there's a lot of bulkiness down the bottom here. Like this bracket's not too bad. Airflow is going to be pretty sweet. But down here, because they did state in the manual or the guide that this is a bottom top orientated chassis. So you're going to be going from the bottom to the top for airflow. Now to me, your best airflow is always going to be coming in from the side because it's basically unrestricted. You have nothing unless you're up against the wall. Whereas on the base here, you're always going to have some restriction to how high the case is off the ground. And we already know that having this aluminum base isn't going to be the best in terms of airflow. Like it's not too bad, even if you do take out this center pillar, or speaking to, not center pillar, the center base option, you can, and you can just leave the front and the back. I was speaking to TRYX, and in their testing, they only got a few degrees cooler. So it's not really worth taking that out. But in saying that, you do have this dust filter. Then you've also got this design on the bottom. I think that what they should have done is just completely left this hole completely out like this. So it just went straight through this. It went straight through the base, and then all it was the dust filter, the mesh dust filter down there. That would have been a little bit better in that area. But yeah, that's why there's 2 layers, because the PSU can go in 2 locations. And I don't think I've seen a case, I can't remember the last time we've seen a case that can go in the top and the bottom in the same case. Some other things, front I/O cables. Yes, it was kind of hard for me. I wouldn't say hard. I did miss this a little bit because I was testing with a back connect motherboard. Obviously, having the ports on the back are going to be a little bit closer than on the front because you don't have to go through the cable grommet around to the motherboard. Now, I normally do test cable lengths. I did visually check them, but I did notice that I've got some B-roll that there are 2 cable ties around where the stack of I/O cables come into the chassis. Now, I did have to cut those. If you cut these, I fed this back to TRYX. If you cut those 2 cable ties, you can definitely free up those cables a little bit easier. And I was able to get all the cables to fit, both of the USB Type A for the Type A headers, and then the USB Type C. I think that was the main one. That was the shorter one. That reached, and that was in both orientations with the motherboard at the very top. Obviously, the top position is going to be the only one you have to worry about, because if it can go on the top, it can go when the motherboard's down lower, because the top one is the furthest one away. Now, I found the board that had the USB-C at the highest I could find. It was literally right up the top here. And the 24-pin was even up higher. So that one was quite high. That managed to reach, but I fed that back to them, and they are going to look into extending those I/O cables for the front, something like up to, I'd say, 50 millimeters, which is 5 centimeters. that would make it that little bit easier because we shouldn't really have to start having to cut those pre-installed cable ties to get those cables to reach. I want to cover SATA drives as well now. So what I might do is I might put this one down. And then I want to cover the screws that didn't or were meant to come in the case. Oh. As you see, it does have a handle, but I completely forgot and did not even use the handle. Bit of a sort of quick ghetto scenario. So I've now got 6 behind this area here. Now, yes, this one that Steve pointed out is a bit of a pain because I don't know why this little bit is indented. So getting this connector in goes on a bit of an angle. That one is an oversight there. That's not the best. Also, these ones here, when you plug these cables in, you have lost access to the latch on the back of these. So to pull these out, you either got to release the SSD or I've got really small hands, so I can stick my fingers behind carefully without snapping the SATA interface off, and you can see it there. So that is around the wrong way. To me, I'm not sure if there really is a right and wrong way to install an SSD. Yes, it does look like the wrong way, but I've just quickly routed this. Now, bear in mind, all of these cables are connected to the PSU, which is down the bottom, and I've also tested it with the PSU up the top. So I've got 4 SATA runs from my PSU for the power. These all go down into the PSU and they're all plugged in. All the data has been run, and although I can't plug 9 SATA into this board, funnily enough, this motherboard only has 2 SATA. So I plugged the furthest 2 into the motherboard, which are these 2, and then all the rest of the SATA just literally dangle in the front to where the SATA would go, just to show you an example if you were to run all 9. So for cable managing these, I didn't really do too much here. I saw on Steve's video where the cables were being run over the front side here. To me, I would 100% run them on the inside of this. I can't see what else this space, like I can put my whole hand down here. I can't see what else this space would be used for. Obviously, if you did need to get to the motherboard to swap out a cooler, when I undo this door, it is going to be hard to open this all the way because I do have the SATA cables plugged in. So you would have to undo the SATA cables, feed them back through, and then open this door if you needed to get to directly behind the motherboard. Another area with the closing of this door, I'm going to close this. Now, I know case companies go to a great length of sort of engineering and manufacturing to do cable management in cases. I know Lian Li's done it for many, many years, and a lot of other companies have started to copy them with these doors and panels. I know the Envy series have these. Lian Li's always had this door. And I think TRYX have done, I would say, a pretty good job on trying to follow that sort of design suite where these little notches between each SSD, I can only assume are for holding your SATA cables and SATA power. So now when I close this, they look pretty good. That just closes completely like that because I spent probably 2 minutes cable managing these cables. Like, it doesn't look the best, but I've got 9 SATA drives in this case. Like, I've never tested a Lian Li case. I've never tested an NV9 with fitting in 9 SATA SSDs. It's probably not going to be pretty in either of those as well. But I think for one, motherboards only come with about a maximum of 6 now. Newer boards are 4. This one's got 2. So if I was to use 2, I wouldn't use this. I'd probably use these 2 or maybe these 2, depending if your PSU's down the bottom. Use these 2. If your PSU's at the top, use these 2. If you wanted 4, I would still use the 4 behind here. I wouldn't even use that, but I can clearly close this door. I don't have anything failing here. Like, it is pretty tight. I'm just trying to see how they could have done it a different way, but like, it's one of those kind of gray areas with SATA SSDs. Do you have to do it to assume that someone's going to jam pack the system with SSDs and run something like a RAID card or something like that, or are you just going to give them plenty of options for different layouts? Now, in terms of these facing this way, I'm kind of 2 ways about this. Now, I can cable this up and I can see all the ports, and when the door's closing, I have access of all of these and I can see them closing and see them until they close. Now, if these were facing this way, I can't remember how they do it on the Lian Li cases. I'm assuming that they go this way. If I had them all cabled up like this and I'm closing this, the cables may even get pinched in the center of this hinge here, and you may even sort of snap the interface off if you're not careful. depending on how the door is designed. Because if this cable starts to come out this way and then wraps around as the door goes, and you kind of lose sight on the cables if they were facing that way. So I can only assume that's why TRYX have done this. And if, yeah, that's really all I can think of. I can't really test doing it the other way because this is riveted in. The only other way they could have done it is how Lian Li do it, where they give you the stock holes and you put those little rubber grommets in, and then you literally just slide the SSD. Then that gives you the flexibility to flip the SSD around, or I even think Lian Li SSDs go up and down, and that saves all of those issues altogether. They probably didn't need to fit 3 here. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to fit 3 or going up and down because you would lose that vertical space. So obviously, going with 2 probably could have been better. They could have had 1 vertically there, 1 vertically here. You could have plugged in either option to have it upside down or up the other way, and you could have put the data in there or the data in the bottom, and same on this one. And that would have completely eliminated all of that issues there with the closing of the door. But I can close that fine, no issues at all with a little bit of cable routing. I'll just spin this around so we can see. So yeah, this is what I mean, but I've got the 2 furthest one plugged in. Then obviously I just wanted to sort of mimic a scenario as if I needed all the other remaining 7 to plug in. If I needed to, they would all plug in like this, and there's plenty of room, and you can see that all fits in like that. Another thing, I didn't get enough M3 screws for the SSDs, and I can see that's the same thing here. Actually, it could be enough. I'm just going to count it anyway because, hey, I don't want to get this wrong. So you'll need 36 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, exactly 36. Like maybe giving you a few extra, but the odds of everyone needing to use 9 SSDs, and then these are the same for screwing in the removable motherboard tray and so on. So I would say 36 is going to be enough now. I can't remember the last time I've reviewed a case that didn't come with fans, that came with fan screws. Now, obviously, if the case comes with maybe 3 fans or 1 fan, they normally have the fans, the screws installed on the fan in the case, and then they give you a few spare in case you lose them. I reached out to Fantex. The MV9, the MV7 don't come with fan screws. The 011 EVO RGB, that'll be the same as the Lambo, don't come with fan screws. Only the EVO XL comes with 4. I'm not sure why. Don't ask me why. 4 fan screws in that humongous case. Doesn't even come with a fan, but they just give you 4 fan screws in case you wanted to. But I just wanted to bring that up. The cable grommets for, now mind you, they only give you 2, but this is the issue with going with, I'll see if I can pull one out over here. Now, this is the problem with going with right-angled cable grommets. I've never liked these. The way they're designed, it's just hard to get that strength in the center. Now, I've got a bit of B-roll of feeding cables in and out. Like, they're not that bad. If I throw up some B-roll of the 011 Vision, I would say it's literally the exact same type of cable grommet as, or I wouldn't say exactly the same, but exactly the same material, the same type of feel. It's nothing, I would say, crazy revolutionary. The only thing I can think of is they need to make this flappy material needs to be even more lightweight, and they need to actually almost make the long bit around that slides on more of a hard plastic, so it literally clips in and then only the center moves. So that's just another idea for that. Grommets, fan screws. Now the PSU being tight, I've got some tests of me installing a few PSUs. I can't really pull this one out because of the, which one's the PSU? This one, because of the cables in here. This one's really loose. You can feel that. I got some B-roll. I tested a Corsair AX1600i. I tested a ROG Thor, and then I tested this one, which is a older white Seasonic Snow Silent. So the loosest one was the Corsair. The ROG one was, I would think, the tightest one that went in, but that also comes down to margin of error for the PSU. but I didn't have any issues getting these in. And that could also be because of the GN case was heavily damaged. Wherever it came from, the structural integrity could have been compromised. And as soon as you get a bit of a dint or a warp in somewhere, it could fail the PSU going in, because there is rubber underneath to make it go in tight. So I just wanted to point that out. PSU clearance, I will admit, I mentioned that in my video, is very, very short. I wouldn't go over something like, it's not there, it's down here. I wouldn't go over anything about 170 in PSU length. Like this one here is a 750 watt. I think it's an older C-Sonic, but it goes to here. The Corsair AX1000 head goes to literally, the 1600 AX goes to about here. So that is one, I think, flaw in this case. You have to be careful if you're running something like a whopping PSU. Like this one here, that is literally the same size as the whole cage. So that definitely would not fit. But hey, for some reason, if you have something like this, you can also take this end cap off. Like it's not going to be pretty. This plastic end cap, hey, at least you're removing another bit of plastic from the case, although that's plastic and the only other plastic is the top. But you can remove this. It would be messy because then your cables, there's really nowhere for your cables to go. So it's not really a viable option, but they could have made the PSU just go to here, and then you just would have lost the support for having two fans up the top, only one. But yeah, definitely PSU clearance is short, which I did mention on my review. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't want to really go on too much. I just think that unfortunately TRYX got some bad luck with the case that Steve got. It's unfortunate because we don't know how TRYX will recover, if they will recover, if they're going to pursue this. I did reach out to them about some things. They will do the cable extensions, and I don't really think they need to do too much more. Now that I've got 3 cases, the quality seems fine. I don't have anything issues with these doors falling off. I've tested all of mine with the force tester. I want to know your thoughts. Is there anything you would want fixed up with the SSD bays around the back? The solid rear side panel being all aluminum, do we need that? Do we just need steel? Say you could save 30, 40 bucks off if they cut that aluminum out. Do we need aluminum on the top of the I/O cover here? Like that's the kind of look that they're going for. They're going for that upper premium, but it is $240 for, or 240 US dollars for this chassis. So it is quite up there. I think that's like NB9 territory and the Evo XL. So I'll leave it to you. I want to know if you think what else should be changed and so on. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I just hope this clears up some areas in my review as well. And we'll see you in the next one.